Good morning. This is Jason Dean coming live at you. It's 11:04 on a Tuesday. Hope everyone's doing good. So today's show is on a movie I had thought that I had done a video on this before, but I realized I didn't. And I when I came home from work last night, I had this big craving to watch this movie, so I decided to watch it. And it's by this film is by one of the most kind of iconic directors, Sam Raimi, of course, who is most well known for the Evil Dead franchise. Amazing films. I love all three of those films. I did a show on that whole franchise last year. I think I even got into the TV show. Was it Ash vs. Evil Dead? I got into reviews with that, but I mostly covered the films. Huge Sam Raimi fan, and and I think this movie that I'm going to talk about today is a movie that is really kind of not looked at. It's a little bit overlooked. I think for the most part, I think a lot of people have forgotten about this film, but I just think it's one of his best movies. It's very very different from a lot of his other films. Sam Raimi, his track record, most well known, of course, for the Evil Dead films, but then also movies like the Dark Man. Uh, so many great films. I mean, just an amazing track record. I think pretty like I've talked about. I did a show. I've been covering the movies of Martin Scorsese lately. I've been talking a lot about Scorsese, and one of the things I love so much about his career is the consistency in all of his films. And I feel like Sam Raimi is pretty close to having that kind of consistency. He's made some movies that are not so great, but of course, Spider-Man 2002, Tobey Maguire and William Dafoe as the Green Goblin, amazing. Evil Dead '81, Spider-Man 2, which is actually a really awesome movie in 2004. Spider-Man 3, which is I think kind of a terrible movie. That came out in 2007. I've only seen Spider-Man 3 once, and it was really bad. And I remember I saw it once, and then I just was like, I was really let down, disappointed with it. And then I kind of forgot about it. And so, and then a couple of years later, I saw I saw it on TV somewhere. It was on HBO or something, and it was like kind of in the middle of the movie, and it was on in the background at someone's house, and I started watching it, and I was like, wow, and I forgot like, wow, like this is a really super terrible movie. And so it's I think what happened with Spider-Man 3 is I think that there was probably a lot of studio interference, and I think people were trying to put. I think Sam Raimi was under a lot of pressure. That's the sense that I got with that film from the studio. And of course, Evil Dead 2, another masterpiece, 1987. Just a fantastic movie. And Army of Darkness, again, classic movie. Another movie of his that he did, which I think is really great and kind of an underappreciated movie, Drag Me to Hell in 2009. It's a really good movie. It's got what is it? I think it has like a PG-13 rating, but it works. Like it's still really intense and super gory, but it doesn't, it has those restraints around it, but it's really great film. The Quick and the Dead from 1995, which is a western that Sam Raimi directed, which is really awesome, really great film. Another movie he did, which I think is really underrated, is The Gift with Kate Blanchett and Keanu Reeves, which is like this supernatural thriller that came out in 2000. So I mean, he's made some really incredible films, but today's show is on this really. I love this film to death, and that is A Simple Plan. This came out in 1998. I remember seeing this in the theater. I had just this came out actually the year that I moved to Maine, and I remember going to the theater to see this, and it's such an awesome movie. I I remember going to see this in this like really intense snowstorm, and which was really great because the movie itself takes place during a very intense wintry season. So it's the environment for this film really feels real, and it is the winter climate, the winter setting really almost acts like a character to this movie. Very very cool. I almost think it's its own like that could be its own like category or films that are set during the winter and give you that kind of icy, somewhat cozy feeling. And Simple Plan has that. But amazing movie, of course, starring Bill Paxton, Billy Bob Thornton, Bridget Fonda. Just an amazing ensemble of it. The cast is just incredible. Billy Bob Thornton. I think it's. I mean, he's amazing, and the last thing I saw him in was, which was a while ago now, but like the TV series Fargo, the first season, which he is just astoundingly great in it and so incredibly evil. I think and of course Sling Blade, amazing film. I have to revisit that. I have to buy that film and see that movie again. I haven't seen that in years, but amazing film. But I really think that this role that he plays in A Simple Plan is probably my favorite role of his career. And of course, Bill Paxton, one of the greatest, character actors around. It was really unfortunate when he passed away a few years ago at a really young age, but amazing, amazing track record. From Aliens to Near Dark, which is one of the best vampire movies ever. So many great films that he was in, and he was, I kind of feel like, as far as actors go, character actors, he was like kind of an American treasure. So it was really sad when he passed. But I think he also was involved with uh, films as like where he produced films, but then he also directed films. He was a really prolific actor. Of course, he was in Terminator. He was also in Titanic. He worked a lot with James Cameron, starting with Aliens, or actually starting with the Terminator. One of the movies he directed was, which is actually a really good movie, Frailty in 2001. So he was also a director. He directed a few movies, but I think that this is probably my favorite. Outside of Aliens, directed by James Cameron, it's probably my favorite Bill Paxton role. Such an awesome movie. Such a great tale of basically these three guys come across this plane crash, and inside this plane that has crashed is a whole treasure chest of money, and so they decide to take the money. And at first, like the title, it plays out like, well, they think it's going to play out like a simple plan, but things get really complicated and really deadly and dangerous to where uh, there's lots of people dying, and it's such an awesome movie. It's such a great thriller. It's again, I think it's one of the movies of Sam Raimi's career that gets really overlooked, and I don't hear it talked about enough. But it's awesome. It's one of my favorites. It might be my favorite film of his outside of, say, Evil Dead, the original, which is that's definitely my favorite movie that he's ever done. But there's something about A Simple Plan that is really different. It's it is a very dark movie. It's very violent, incredibly violent. But it's not like a horror movie. But there is this one interesting thing, a really cool scene of where one of the characters gets blown away by a shotgun, and I really feel like that scene is like a little bit of a tipping of the hat or homage to Evil Dead. If you see the film, you'll see it because the way the whole scene plays out, the choreography, the stunt work, is right out of Evil Dead, and it's just so awesome, and it's so like ridiculous and over the top. Even though this film is kind of set in more of obviously a very realistic environment, but such a great film. The ending is just awesome. It's a total bloodbath, and it's got some humor to it too. Billy Bob Thornton's character is someone who is kind of mentally challenged, so there's a lot of humor to this film. Such a great cast. Um, Bridget Fonda is so awesome as the wife of Bill Paxton's character. I think it's also one of her best roles. I believe I remember seeing recently that Bridget Fonda kind of retired from acting because I haven't seen her in anything in years, and I kind of think that that's true. The other actor in this that I think is just tremendous, which I have never seen him in anything since then, is Brent Briscoe, and he plays Lou, who is part of this group of guys that find this money, and he is so awesome in it. He's super funny and so ridiculous, but such a great character. And this movie's based on a book, as far as I know. I haven't read the book, but it feels like a novel when you're reading it. But it's also like, just a really gripping thriller. Such a fun movie, and it's very satisfying. But for my money, I think it's, like I said, right behind Evil Dead, the original. I think it's probably overall my favorite Sam Raimi movie. Sam Raimi movie. And I don't think it's a movie that is talked about when people talk about Sam Raimi. I think a lot of the times Evil Dead is a movie. Or, I mean, sorry, Simple Plan is a movie that gets a little bit buried or doesn't get the probably the accolades or the acknowledgement that it deserves, because I think it's really good and I think it's like super entertaining. It's different than his other films because I mean he's mostly done. Obviously, he did the comic book world. Most recently did the Doctor Strange sequel, which I haven't seen and I heard is not very good. But I might I will probably eventually see it. But he moved into the Marvel universe obviously with the Spider-Man franchise. And he has done other kinds of more supernatural based films, like The Gift, where it's more not overt, over the top horror like the Evil Dead franchise. But he's known for those films, the Evil Dead. Like that's his that's his calling card, that entire franchise, and giving birth to an amazing franchise and a really consistent franchise. I did a show where I talked about all of the movies and different videos on each of the movies, and I think I even talked about Ash vs. Evil Dead, of course, starring Bruce Campbell, who he's had a long, long partnership with, who is just iconic in every possible way. Simple Plan is different because it's not a horror film. I mean, but it does have horror elements, I think, to a degree, just because of the violence and the carnage, but it's essentially a drama and or a suspense thriller. But amazing film, so well directed, so well acted. It's one of the best, and so I highly recommend it. I only have this on DVD. I would I would be really happy to get an upgrade. This one is pretty good quality. It doesn't have anything in way. There's no like there's like zero special features on here, and the transfer of this, because it is DVD, is actually pretty good. It's pretty decent, but it would be really cool to get this on Blu-ray and see this in like really good high quality, and especially it would be awesome to see some maybe a documentary or some special features on this film. I'm sure it does exist. I would imagine. I'm sure at this point, pretty much, it's probably easy to find any Sam Raimi film that you want on Blu-ray. So, highly recommend it if you've never seen this film. It's it's a really fantastic movie. It came out in 1998. Fantastic. So this is Jason Dean. Thanks again, and we will see you next time. Peace.